Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Carlson. I'm the head coach and general manager of the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders of the United States Hockey League, and real honored and happy to be a part of the Coach's Site Virtual Hockey Summit. I'm really looking forward to talking some hockey here today. And the first thing I thought of when I was invited to be a part of the summit was, went all the way back to the beginning of my coaching career, when my head coach at the time, when I started as an assistant at UMass Lowell, and my head coach was Bruce Crowder, and he sent me off to he said, "Hey, Mark, we'd like you to go off to a coaches conference in Toronto and go try to pick up some things." And it seems like yesterday that I did that, and I absolutely loved it, and I learned a ton. I still have the notes and the paperwork in the binder here in my office today, and I've done an awful lot of watching and learning, and whether it's attending seminars or in this new era now, watching the virtual events or Zooms or what have you. So it's pretty special for me to be a part of this today. As I go through the presentation, I thought it'd be kind of cool for me to mention briefly conversations that I've had with my mentors and other coaches along the way, and things that might have been said to me 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago that I still remember, very vividly. And I think that certainly is what we're all doing, is trying to learn and share. So I thought it'd be pretty neat if I did share some of those things as we go through here, and I'm kind of excited about doing that. This quote here about Charlie Watts, who was an enormous part of the Rolling Stones and a legendary drummer for the Stones. And sadly, Charlie passed away last week. And I read this article in the newspaper. And as soon as I read it, I said, geez, I've got to include this as part of my presentation. And as you see here, a quote from Charlie, that any sort of jazz interested me. So I taught myself by listening to other people's records and watching drummers. And that's really what all of us are doing as coaches, where we have already taught ourselves, we're continuing to teach ourselves by listening to other people's records and watching drummers. And obviously we're talking about listening to coaches, reading about coaches, watching videos. Watching drummers would be the same thing as watching games. And we're talking about one of the best drummers in the history of rock and roll, talking about how he learned. And I thought that was pretty neat. And I certainly wanted to include that as we get started here. This first clip kind of will get us started here. And this is a clip from our team, from the Rough Riders, the last season that we played, which was the year that got cut short 2 years ago. All right, and this is a power play clip with some passing and receiving, and it'll kind of show my passion for the topic here. So there's 9 touches here on this power play. Backhand touches, forehand, 1-touch passing, and a nice goal there at the end, and some excitement there from the guys. And if we watch it here the second time, we'll see all the passing isn't perfect, but guys find a way to keep the puck. They find a way to receive the puck. And there's 9 touches here. And a nice result there at the end. Okay, as we talk about today's game, and as we all know, the game is changing all the time. And I really believe that you intimidate in today's game with speed and puck movement. And certainly there's a physical part of the game, and playing with an edge and fighting's part of the game, and all of those things. And years ago, maybe that was a way that you would intimidate. I'm not saying that that would not happen today for sure, but I think it's a lot more unlikely. And I think really the way that you intimidate today is with speed and good, quick, hard puck movement, and that gets down to the passing and the pass reception. And I have a memory years and years ago when I started coaching in the USHL, and we were playing the Lincoln Stars here at home, and Lincoln had a really good team that year, and the puck dropped and Lincoln won the draw, and they made 4 or 5 passes, quick, crisp, hard, tremendous speed with the puck movement. And I remember at that time saying, wow, we're going to be in for it here tonight. Like we better be on our game. And I'll never forget it. I can remember it like it was yesterday. You could hear the puck zipping around. And I really believe that that's how you intimidate teams and players and even coaches in today's game. One of the things I feel is really important as far as the teaching process and the coaching process for all of us, and it's an adjustment for our boys and girls, men and women as players, is that the receiver is responsible to receive the pass anytime that puck is anywhere near him or her. And we're all going to have an opportunity here in the next week or 2 or 3, as we all get started with our teams. We're probably going to see someone out on the ice when a pass wasn't completed, or a pass wasn't received, I should say. We're going to see that hand go up in the air, right? Palm up to the sky. What's going on? That pass wasn't on my stick. And that's a tremendous opportunity to teach. It's a great teaching moment for us as coaches to stop the drill and explain that, we believe that if that puck is anywhere within reach, that is the job of the receiver to find a way to receive that puck and not to criticize the passer. I believe that pass reception I think it's the most underrated and the least mentioned fundamental in hockey. And if we all sit and think for a moment, when we're talking about the game and we're talking about scouting individual players, pre-scouting teams, watching a game, talking about our own teams even, we'll say things like, oh, that player can really skate, that player can really fly, that player's got a great one-time shot, that player he or she can really shoot it. That girl has great hands. This player's really strong. How many times we hear somebody say, this player's pass reception is tremendous. This person can really pass and receive. This player can receive good pucks, bad pucks, 10-foot passes, 70-foot passes. I don't think we hear that a lot. I know that it's something that I've got a great passion for. We talk about it a lot. I talk about it a lot. It's something that really excites me when we watch players. Here's some clips from some NHL games. Okay, this first one here. Krejci up to Marchand, to Pastrnak. That would intimidate me. Okay, that type of play. If you watch Theodore here, look at this reception on the backhand. He moves it quick. I'd be in that would scare me a little bit. Okay, 75-foot backhand reception. Tremendous. Cirelli coming up on the backhand from behind. Tremendous hockey. Got a chance to do something with it now. Chernak, he keeps it on the forehand. He gets it up. Indirect reception. Here's a great one. Off the skate, no big deal. I'll receive it. Stamkos again. Okay, now as we saw, there's all different types of pass reception. There's the tape on the forehand. Okay, which always is not easy all the time. Backhand reception, which to me is one of the most exciting parts of the game. Reception in the skates, something that we can work on with our players all the time. Something that I know that we get excited about when we see that and you're able to keep possession. Indirect pass reception, as we saw, off the wall rims and picking pucks up off the wall. Stressing that passes that are anywhere within a player's reach should be able to be received. And then bouncing pucks. We're going to see a great clip here coming up at the end of this segment where the puck's bouncing all over the place and the player's able to make a pass and it's also received, okay, which is some pretty exciting stuff. Sergachev here, reception, great goal. You watch the defenseman choke up on his stick here to receive it. Now he's got a chance to do something. Okay, this one they move it well up the ice. And then we're going to see two plays off the yellow here. Pick it up off the yellow, pick it up off the yellow, and a great chance. For a good bit anyway. Okay, 75-foot backhand reception, and a bullet reception there on the backhand for a bit at the net. Bouncing puck, Crew gets it. Watch it, it's like jumping bean. Look at this thing. Receives it. Okay. Again, all those exciting things can't happen unless the puck is received. Okay, player development, which is what we're all very heavily involved in. It's the part of the game that I love the most is developing players. And I would ask that we ask ourselves, is passing taken for granted? And I believe that it is. And the reason I say that is just from observing practices, youth practices, junior practices, college practices. You haven't had the opportunity to watch as many pro practices. When I was in college hockey, I used to go watch as many practices as I could on the road, whether they were, major junior practices, a couple pro practices here and there, some colleges. And when you watch practices and you watch the things that are getting policed the most and where people are being held accountable, I see other things that are stressed a lot more than passing. I think it's really difficult to be a really good player and to be a really good team if the passing isn't being done at a high level. When you talk about the attributes of an effective player, if you can pass and receive, to me, especially on the pass reception side, you have a way better chance to be a high level player. For instance, if you can really skate, but you have a challenge with receiving pucks, you probably won't be as effective. Maybe you're a smaller player and maybe that player doesn't skate that well. But if that player can receive pucks extremely well, like we're talking pucks that are anywhere within the player's reach and also has some vision, those players tend to do very, very well. So I think if your pass reception, if you're at a higher level with that, it gives you a chance to be a much more effective player. Now, my productive paranoia for me personally, and if you want to read about the subject, Jim Collins is the one that kind of came up with this productive paranoia term, and he's got a couple great books. And the book Great by Choice is a real good one. There's a whole paragraph on this. But my productive paranoia is that for me, if any of our players move on from the Rough Riders to Division I college hockey, pro hockey, and they cannot pass and receive at a high level, that's something that would really bother me. Because as we all know, it's really hard to run great drills unless all the guys and girls can pass and receive. So that's something that motivates me every day. And what's important to you as a coach, again, when you have a chance to observe practices and intensity and coaches, whether it's men or women in any sport, there's always going to be a little barking going on, I certainly would think, and some intensity. And what things do you see that where is that intensity being raised? What's being policed out there? What's being emphasized out there? And you're going to be good at whatever you work on the most. Was fortunate to work with Timmy Whitehead. And I'll never forget him saying that a long time ago, almost matter-of-factly, that, hey, you're going to be, a team is going to be good at whatever they work on the most, they're going to be good at. And I've always taken that with me. And it was a comment that made an awful lot of sense. If passing and receiving, you want your team to be great at it, and it's something you're going to work on a lot, then you'll probably become pretty good at it. Okay, we'll get to the exotic island picture here at the end. So becoming very good at passing and receiving. It's simple. It's not easy, though. To me, there's got to be a demand on it each and every day. And it's got to be worked on every day. And there's got to be accountability, and there has to be praise. And a long time ago, Andy Murray spoke to me about policing your practices, and that there's a huge difference in between setting up a drill and kind of observing, as opposed to setting up the drill and actually running the drill and policing the drill. In the policing side, praising great things, praising great pass reception, getting into it in a positive way about pass reception, but also the accountability side. And I'm sure in a lot of our practices, their accountability comes into play. And maybe our teams do some skating, or they do some stops and starts. Well, is the passing game part of that? And I would suggest that it should be, if we really want to develop our players and get them ready to play at a high level. So it really comes down to, how are we accounting for this on a daily basis? I believe applying pressure in the passing game is the best way to get results. And if you want to get the most out of people, you have to apply pressure. And that's the only thing that any of us really respond to. Bill Parcells from the Harvard Business Review, November, December 2000. Okay, I've had that one for a while. And for me, Bill Parcells is one of the best ever in any sport. Had a great balance of holding his players accountable and also showing them love. And I think I certainly believe that applying pressure in practice in the passing game is going to help your team make plays with 17 seconds left in a tie game in front of a huge crowd when you're trying to win a game. And then the passing, it's a detail. You may have 5-6 things in a drill. Well, the passing detail is, as long as there's passing involved in it, it's always going to be a very important detail in a drill. And something I learned a long time ago, speaking with Troy Ward, that details create success. And there's all types of details, as we know, and passing is one of them. Now, my exotic island picture here. The drills, they don't have to be exotic, as I like to call it. I believe we can have the simplest drills. They can be very basic. And if we push our players to get out of their comfort zone, then the drill, it's going to be a good drill. As long as we police it and we run it with intensity, we run it with speed. And that's very important, to run it with speed. Then the drill it's going to help our players develop. Now, a lot of times, from my observations, because I love watching practices, it's one of my favorite things. Don't get to do it as much recently, but it's something that I love. And I was observing a practice this summer. We were running a developmental type weekend for some younger players, and So I said to our staff, hey, you guys run it. It's a great chance for you guys to set up the drills. I'll observe, I'll watch from up top. And I watched the practice, and I went down after, and I said to our staff, I say, guys, these are young kids, and there was all types of ability levels that were out on the ice. And I said, how do you think their skating was? Well, then the guy said, gee, well, it was okay. It was all right. Probably could use, some work, which is understandable. And I said, well, what do you think about the passing? Well, geez, probably wasn't very good. And I said, okay, well, would you do anything differently? And they kind of look at me, didn't really, kind of confused. And I said, well, we kind of said that the skating maybe wasn't all that great. Maybe the passing, wasn't really where we'd like it to be. I said, so do you think we should have worked on passing? Just basic drills? And they said, yeah, probably. And so, they had started out with drills that had, all kinds of angling in them, and angling drills at the beginning. And there ended up being, 3, 4, and 5 people involved. And there was some 2-on-1s, and some were 3-on-2s with angling. And it was really hard for these players to complete passes. And I don't mean that in a critical way. So why not just make it simple and basic, and see if the players can get through those things first, and then move on, to the things that might be a little bit, more advanced or exotic, as we would call it. So we don't always have to make the drills fancy per se. They can be basic, and we can stay awake from getting exotic, and things can probably be very, very, very effective for us. The scouting side of it with pass reception, a topic that I love. And again, the attributes of an effective player: skating, size, depending on your belief. How is a player on his edges? How is his or her hockey sense? Does the player shoot? How does the goalie play with his fundamentals? How many times do we hear people talk about pass reception? I think it's a very big part of it. And to me, I think it's very, very important, as we talked a little bit earlier. If you can add pass reception into the arsenal of a real good skater, or a player with really good vision, or maybe it doesn't matter if the player is 5'7" or 6'2". If a player can receive hard passes, 12-foot passes, 55-foot passes, for me, that player has a chance to help you and has a chance to be a real good player if his or her pass reception is at a high level. We had a player probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I was able to get out and watch this player play 3 or 4 times live. I came back every time. I said to our staff, I really like this player. I think this player is a top round pick in our league. And maybe not the prettiest, but this guy can receive pucks he receives pucks like it's going out of style. It doesn't matter if he's on the left wing, the right wing. It doesn't matter where he is on the power play. He just receives pucks. And it's a big reason why he's a tremendous player. So that this player, we waited a while in the draft because for a number of different reasons. And the player got taken. I don't remember exactly what round, but it was not early. And so obviously we missed out. So now the player goes and tries out for the team that drafted him, and he doesn't make the team. And I said, holy cow. So we were able to add the player to our roster. So now we bring the player in, he's with us. The player's committed to college already. The college tells us, who we have real good relationship with their staff. He says, oh, this would be great. You'll have this player for 2 or 3 years. I said, oh, this is awesome. We got really lucky with this one. The player also happens to have a tremendous work ethic. So he's got a tremendous work ethic. He can receive pucks like it's no tomorrow, and is a way better skater than he appears. Well, the player, he goes on to get 38 points as a rookie in our league, which is really, really hard in the United States Hockey League. Very difficult to put up 38 points as a rookie in the league. And he ends up playing 1 year for us and goes to school, which I was happy for him. He worked his tail off every day, and he should have went to school. And he's well on his way to having a tremendous college career. And I believe has a shot at playing in the National Hockey League. And just a great story as far as scouting players, evaluating players. I believe pass reception and doing it at a high level is a sign of mental toughness, because you're finding a way. If the puck is in your skates, if it's in tight, if it's out far, wherever it may be, it's a sign of mental toughness. And I would say that it makes an awful lot of sense to strongly consider what players do well. I believe that at least, and I think we see this all the time, especially, and we were all, younger when we started, and when we're all still learning. But I find that a lot when people start, they want to come back from scouting trips and say, well, he or she doesn't do A, B, C, and D, and they're all jacked up about how this player can't do all of these things. I would strongly consider, what do players do well? What do they do well? Blaise McDonald taught me that my first year in coaching in college, sitting with him in the stands one night. What do players do well? And can we help them with all these other things? And for me, if a player can receive pucks, that player is on his way or her way to being a very good player. Goalie breakouts, one of my favorite topics, for the reasons that we see below here. And with goalie breakouts, you certainly have to have a plan, because obviously the play is taking place around your net. And if it doesn't go well, there's going to be a problem. Joe Exter, who I was fortunate to work with, taught me an awful lot about goalie breakouts and the different options that you have and the different calls that you have. Because when your goalie comes out and stops the puck, hopefully there'll be a player on each side of the net. And how do you figure out, when you're calling for the puck, do you call the goalie by his name? If he receives the puck in a certain area or stops it in a certain area, do you yell, over or up if you want the goalie to pass the puck to another area? So are you calling the goalie's name? Are you yelling over, up? Are you yelling rim? Are you yelling leave it? We have these discussions all the time. And then you factor these things into your drills. And you work on these things in practice. For me, it's a challenging thing to work on, and that's why I love working on it. And I think it's the ultimate display of teamwork and preparation when it works well, for all of the things that I mentioned earlier. And I think it's just beautiful stuff when the goalie breakout is executed and your team is going up the ice with speed. I don't know if there's anything that that's more exciting in the game, really, when you see it happen. So here are some clips of goalie breakouts. Okay, a great call here. Bobbling puck reception here, and a great chance. Okay, do a goalie breakout. Okay, this one here, going to go over to Chernak. Look at the little chip between his legs. The point with speed. Awesome. Okay, down at this end, it goes a little different for whatever reason. A little bit of an adventure there at the net. We've got an adventure here. Now it's going to come down the other end. And watch this execution here. Past the center ice, flying up the ice. Anderson is. Just tremendous stuff. Okay, really exciting. Okay, part of the game there with goalie breakouts. Okay, now we've had the opportunity to film our team here in our training camp. And we're gonna look at 5 drills that are very, very simple, non-exotic. Okay, drills that you may look and think that they're really easy, but I think we'll find that if we do them at a high speed and we really push our players to get out of their comfort zone, they'll be very effective, and they're drills that'll help our individual players improve, and thus will help our teams improve and hopefully play at a high level as well. First one here, just basic partner passing and zipping this puck back and forth as hard as you can and really challenging the other player to receive. Pretty basic. This is a 3-player passing drill where it's forehand and backhand. So again, really challenging the receiver, getting him or her out of the comfort zone. This is circle, no handle. You'll notice there's no stick handling of the puck. Good hard passes. Challenge your players to keep it flat. Move it quick. Never stick handling. Very simple 2-on-0 through the dots. And you can see there, it's not perfect. That's why we're doing it. Challenge your players to do it at a high speed, get out of their comfort zone. Get better with the passing and receiving. Very simplistic stuff, but if done quickly, can be very challenging. This year, we just added an overspeed piece to it, where the 2 players are swinging, as you can see. Gotta stay on sides. You can see there, this is challenging if we're really pushing our players here, passing and receiving. Thanks everybody for tuning in today, and hopefully you'll find that these drills can help you as far as your development with your individual players and also with your teams this season. And all the best to everybody, and have a great season.